ॐ वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Bhagavan Sri Krishna, in the last couple of verses, has been praising devotees, his Ananya Bhaktas, those Gnani Bhaktas, we may call them, who have no other desire than to have unwavering devotion to Sri Krishna, to the Supreme Godhead. That itself is the means, that itself is the end for them. In other words, they don't use spirituality as a means to get some other benefit. Love for love's own sake. That's how we put it elsewhere. And in the 9th and 10th verses, which we saw last class, which was the 214th class in this series, we saw Bhagavan Sri Krishna saying, I bless them, such pure-hearted devotees, I bless such devotees with Buddhi Yoga. I bless them with Buddhi Yoga. I grant them Buddhi Yoga. What is Buddhi Yoga? When there is a definition given by Adi Shankaracharya, what else do we need? Buddhi Yoga is Buddhihi Samyak Darshanam Mattattva Vishayam Tena Yogaha Buddhi Yogaha. We are generally connected to or united with erroneous perception. And Shankaracharya says Buddhi Yoga here means we get united to, we get connected to right seeing. Samyak Darshana Yoga. As we know, the summary of all spirituality is to be dissociated from erroneous perception and to get associated with right perception. Therefore, buddhihi samyak darshanam tena yogaha buddhi yogaha tam dadami. I bless them with right seeing. How wonderful. And in one more verse, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, I actually destroy their spiritual ignorance. This is a great assurance. This is a great promise. This is a great way Lord Sri Krishna is making all of us leave, let go of any fear, any worry, any hesitation in spiritual practices. Put spiritual practices on top priority. Everything else should follow, everything else should be behind. The big mistake all of us do again and again is we do other things first and then somehow squeeze in some prayer and meditation. Even during that prayer, during that meditation, our mind runs around. Oh, small and big things. Those so-called small and big things, all are small only compared with spirituality. I think it was an author called Richard Carlson long back. He brought out a book which sold like hot cakes. I used to live in California those days, and that was published at that time, and everybody was talking about it. Even I also got a copy. Someone said, "Give to me." Okay, what did Carlson write? The big letters, the title was, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. Don't sweat the small stuff. And then there was a second line in the title of the book, and it's all small stuff. It's all small stuff. Whether we get distracted or keep worrying about a little letter to be posted or a small, errand to be completed, or big stuff. We have a $2 million, $10 million project to pursue, and there has to be a lot of things to be done. Oh, it's a $10 million project. So, all that. But Richard Carlson said it well. I don't know how much Vedanta was in his book. Indirectly, I'm sure there was some. What he said is, don't sweat the small stuff, and it is all small stuff. What you think is big, what you think is, oh, it's so important, God can wait. No, you have to put God first and those big things also. Many a time, the so-called big thing, suppose you achieve, is not the end of your problems. It is the beginning of lot of new problems. Some sadhus build ashrams and they say, oh, all my sadhana was at back seat. Last 3 years I worked hard to build this ashram. I didn't do any sadhana. Now the ashram is ready. And they think, now I'll do sadhana. That's another samsara. The ashram is ready. Now whatever little sadhana they were doing also goes to the winds. Because, like they say, to build an ashram is not a big job. To run the ashram, to see that the ashram is economically viable, to see that enough programs take place there, to see that there is no infighting between role holders, to see that there are, a lot of meaningful things. And it's a long list. Therefore, you postponed your meditation saying, until my ashram is ready, I will skip meditation. And after your ashram is ready, you don't even think of doing meditation. I mean, I'm not putting a pessimistic picture of things. Sometimes there are able people who are able to prioritize properly. But one last reference to Richard Carlson's best-selling book. Don't sweat the small stuff. It's all small stuff. The only big stuff is sincere effort to connect with God. So in the 11th verse, which is the last in this series, because starting from the 12th, we find Arjuna makes a request to Sri Krishna in 7 verses. Arjuna goes on and on. I must check again whether anywhere else his question or request runs so long. Otherwise, in 12th chapter, he sings several verses in the poetic version, I mean. He sings or he says several things about his experience of that cosmic vision. But his question or his prompt, he prompts Sri Krishna to say something or do something. That runs into 7 verses starting from the 12th. But before that, we should see 11. And Sri Shankaracharya connects us to the 11th verse with a simple sentence. Kimartham kasyava tvat prapti pratibandha hetoho nashakam buddhi yogam tesham tvat bhaktanam dadasi. So, for what purpose do you give this buddhi yoga? For to destroy what? Once some samyak darshan, right seeing takes place, what goes away? What pratibandha, obstacle to enlightenment, to lasting freedom, is removed, what obstruction is removed by your buddhi yoga. So, iti apekshayam. Upon such a doubt arising in the mind of any student of Bhagavad Gita, here is the answer. Verse number 11 in this chapter 10, Vibhuti Yoga. Teshamevanukampartham ahamadnanajam tamaha nashayami atmabhavastaha Jnanadipena bhasvata. Of those devotees only who wholeheartedly pray to me, I ensure that certain lamp burns in their bosom. That lamp is Jnanadipa, the lamp of right knowledge, the lamp of wisdom. It's out of my great love, calling it Anukampa. Anukampa is compassion, is feeling strongly for them. Look at these devotees. They have left everything behind and day and night are praying to me. Sri Krishna notices that. God notices. God hears every prayer. Pujya Swami Chinmayananda used to say, when I pray, I know He hears me. How many of us pray with a feeling that God is hearing right at this time? We are in our own world. We mechanically complete our prayers. We don't bother. We don't think of, is God hearing my prayer? Is God likely to respond? What could be the response of God to my prayer? That concern. If somebody is standing right in front of us and we make a request to that person, we look into his eyes. We look into his facial expression. Is he likely to respond favorably or will he say no to our request? Like that, when we pray to Rama or Krishna, to Shiva or Ganesha, do we have a certain eagerness for God to respond to us? So here are devotees who are completely devoted and Lord hears them. Lord listens to them. Anukampartham. What does God do? The main sentence in this whole shloka is Tamaha Nashayami. I destroy the last bit of darkness in their vision. Tamaha Nashayami. Atma Bhavastha. I enter them. I am as though their own inner being. Atma Bhava, not standing somewhere far away. I enter into their heart and seated there, I destroy all darkness. Jnanadipena bhasvata. I see that a lamp, Jnanadipa, shines. Bhasvata Jnanadipena. Bhasvata is an adjective to Jnanadipa. I destroy their spiritual ignorance with the lamp of wisdom, which is brightly burning. Bhasvata means burning. Aham ajnanajam tamaha. Here he says darkness born of ajnana. It's a matter of language. Elsewhere, ajnana itself is tamaha. Ignorance itself is the darkness. Either way, that's all right. Now, Adi Shankaracharya is inspired to elaborate on the expression Jnana Deepa. He says about Jnana Deepa in his commentary. I will get back to the couple of first lines later. But where the word Jnana Deepena appears, he says, Viveka Pratyaya Rupena. Jnana Deepa is burning at once means there is Pratyaya, there is such thought in your mind which is very clearly distinguishing between the false and the true, between the passing and the eternal. Viveka Pratyaya rises in your bosom. A lot of blunders you and I commit in life because at the time of need, we don't have Viveka at all. On the contrary, Aviveka Pratyayas rise in large numbers. A blood pressure patient is asked not to eat salty stuff, but when some salty, you know, some Haldiram's preparations very popular with Indians, they are in front of him. One part of the mind says, "Oh, after a long time I have got this in front of me." Though really last evening he had eaten, but again, another thought says, especially of all the salty stuff, savories, this particular murukku I like the most, chakuli or something, chakli. Then a third thought says, and they have served only two pieces to me, not much, I can eat. Like that, the dozen aviveka pratyayas arise in his mind. Not a single pratyaya saying, don't eat it. This is not good for your health. No, Viveka takes a back seat. But with divine grace, at the right time when you need it the most, Viveka Pratyaya Rupena Dana Deepena. So, first of all, the lamp is of the nature of clear discrimination between Anitya and Nitya. No wonder a whole text running into more than 580 verses in Vedanta is named Viveka Chudamani. Because once you have Viveka, it is the crest jewel. Once you have a crest jewel, most expensive ornament, you won't want anything else. Then, Viveka Pratyaya Rupena Jnana Deepena, one Shankaracharya seems to be excited about this metaphor. Bhakti Prasada Sneha Abhishiktena. The lamp needs oil for the flame to keep burning. Sneha means oil. Bhakti Prasada. When I bless my devotees, the lamp that begins to burn in their bosom has plenty of oil, and that is no other than a certain serene state of mind. Prasada means prasannata. When there is love, there is a certain serenity. When there is hatred, when there is fear, we are agitated. When there is love, we forget everything else. I was reading the other day a couple of pages of life of Papa Ramadas, the founder of Ananda Ashram in Kanangad, Kerala, and he narrates how another sadhu and he, before Ramadas was well known, this was when nobody knew him, another sadhu and Ramadas were traveling from one pilgrim center to another pilgrim center. Somewhere, I guess, in Kashi or some North Indian holy city, they managed to go in and against warnings by the priest who said it's not allowed, they somehow go in and spend a night inside a temple. The temple doors are closed. The priest says nobody is allowed to sleep inside the temple, but they somehow have a strong desire and they make it. The priest also at the last moment says, okay, go, sleep behind there, and so on. Then there is a major challenge. There are countless mosquitoes. The other sadhu whole night starts he's complaining. He couldn't sleep at all. He was complaining. Papa Ramdas, very strange character. He also was bothered by the mosquitoes, but he keeps quiet and says, all I must do is, I must recite Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram with more intensity than ever before. That is the remedy, that is the solution here. And he lies down and very intensely repeats his mantra. And he narrates in his autobiographical book that I went into a state of mind where there was no body consciousness. Blissfully I slept. Slept or was in a meditative state. Look at it. How interesting. Mosquitoes in hundreds are biting him, but he says, I am with Ram, I am not with this body. So, Bhakti Sneha Prasada, Bhakti Prasada Sneha Vishittena, Mad Bhavana Abhinivesha Vata Iritena. There is need for a little oxygen, a little air has to be. The air should be in the surroundings, and that is that vata, that air, that little wind, conducive wind, is madbhavana abhinivesha. One is overwhelmed with the feeling for God. The feeling for God. Abhinivesha is when something overpowers you. God, God, Shri Krishna, Shri Krishna. In this way, if there is certain, emotional excitement, then sadhana takes great speed. And then, see, a lamp, an old style lamp requires a wick. A wick in Sanskrit is called varti. Varti becomes batti in Kannada, bati in Hindi, and I'm sure similar words in various other Indian languages. The Sanskrit word is varti. What is the wick? W-I-C-K, wick. Brahmacharyadi sadhana sanskaravat prajna. Once someone has lived in self-control of several dimensions, self-control in many dimensions. Vijay Chinmayanand used to say, if you watch television for too long, then you lost your brahmacharya. Or being excited about something, you go on telling somebody some matter, that person is bored, but you go on and on. You want to, let us say, you have gone to Mumbai and come back to your small town, and you want to tell about how wonderful Bombay city was. And the other person, but that's okay, I've heard all this. No, no, listen. And then I went to Gateway of India. And, we had coffee at the Taj Hotel there. And so on. If you over talk, that is violation of brahmacharya. And where you have to talk, if you keep your mouth shut, I won't talk at all today. That is also loss of brahmacharya. So brahmacharya is restraint of all the organs of perception and action, neither going to one excess of overdoing anything, nor going to the other extreme of underdoing anything. Then there is a certain different awareness, different mental atmosphere. That is the varti. That is the wick which is continuously burning. Oil flows through it to up to the tip of the flame. Virakta antakarana adharena. Shankaracharya says, this lamp of wisdom, Jnana Deepa, has the support, whether it is that receptacle where oil is, or maybe another support on which the Deepa is kept. Either way, it is no other than an antakarana, your inner equipment, mind and intellect, which are virakta, which are not pursuing some worldly desire anymore. In fact, is not interested in worldly pleasures. That is the support. Vishaya Vyavritta Chitta Ragadvesha Akalushita Nivata Apavarakastena. So, a certain mind, chitta, which is withdrawn from sense objects, and what is more, it is not affected by likes and dislikes. It is not kalushita, therefore akalushita. Nivata. And therefore, in that sense, there is no such wind to put out the flame. A little air is required, which was already mentioned. It is that intense feeling about God, Madbhavana Abhinivesha. But if winds are blowing at a little higher speed, as you know, the flame will be extinguished. Therefore, lest that should happen, there is apavaraka, a certain enclosure, certain cover for the lamp, and that is this pure mind. Nitya pravritta aikagre dhyana janita samyak darshana bhasvata. Rome, they say Rome was not built in a day. If you and I want success in meditation, we want to have a taste of higher consciousness. Don't think suddenly it would happen one fine morning. Over many days, many weeks, years, and so on, one must practice meditation. Nitya pravritta ekagrya dhyana, with all single pointedness, not minding occasional distractions. Get back, come back, as he guided us in chapter 6. Bring it back again and again. Yato yato nishcharati manaschanchalamasstiram tatas niyamyaitat atmanyeva vasham niyet atmasamstam manakrutva na kinchidapi chintayet. All these lines had come in the 6th chapter. That dhyana then finally rise or gives rise to samyak darshana. By this lamp which burns in the bosom of the devotee, Sri Krishna says, I have destroyed the ajnanajam tamaha. Now coming to the first part of the Bhashya portion, Teshameva katham nu nama shreyasyaditi anukampatam. What is his concern? Anukampa means certain concern, care. What is he concerned about? He is concerned, God is concerned, how such fine devotees would come upon their shreyas. How the best good, the greatest good will happen to them. Tesham katham nu nama shreyasyat. Shreya is good. And being very concerned with it, and Shankaracharya makes it even clearer, daya hetoho. Out of daya, daya, kripa, anugraha, all of them come together. Adnanajam avivekataha jatam. So, Ajnanajam doesn't have to mean there is something existing somewhere called Ajnana. In our thinking, where there is aviveka, that error itself is Ajnana. Avivekataha jatam tamaha, darkness, nashayami. Mithya pratyaya lakshanam. There is a rope over there. If your mind says it is a snake, that is the issue. If your mind says there is a rope, then there is no problem. So, right seeing, right perception, and following that right thinking is what destroys the ignorance, and that wrong seeing is the tamaha. Mithya pratyaya lakshanam mohandakaram tamaha nashayami. I destroy it. Atma bhavastaha. Atmana bhavaha. Antakaranashaya. Tasminneva stitaha. So Atma bhava is taken as the antakarana ashaya, that location, that place, which is no other than antakaran, our own mind and intellect. And that is Atma bhava. And stitaha. Stitaha becomes in the compound staha. Atma bhavena stitaha or Atma bhave stitaha, Atma bhavasthaha. Like Grahe stitaha, grahasthaha. Vane stitaha, vanasthaha. So Atma bhavastaha. And with that, he enters into the word Jnanadipena. I destroy their darkness, their ignorance. This is the powerful assurance Sri Krishna gives. And as you have been seeing in chapter after chapter, Bhagavan Sri Krishna has some unique ways of arousing interest in Arjuna, motivating him, making him turn towards the highest truth. What a place, what a context, what a setting with the two armies waiting to start the battle. Sri Krishna is imparting the greatest wisdom to Arjuna. Now Arjuna says, Bhagavan Bhashyakara says, Yatoktam Bhagavatah Vibhutim Yogam Chashutva Arjuna Vacha. In a few shlokas, in a few words, Sri Krishna has said, this is my yoga, this is my Vaibhava, Vibhuti. And Arjuna wants to know more. Having heard in brief, he wants to know in detail. Therefore, Arjuna Uvacha Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adidevam Ajam Vibhum Ahustvam Rishayas Sarve Devarshir Naradastatha Asito Devalo Vyasaha Swayam Chaiva Bravishi Me. Going into 7 shlokas, but we are now seeing the first 2. Arjuna acknowledges. He seems to say, oh, I didn't see the point all these days. Now I see very clearly. You are no ordinary person. Param Brahma Tvam Asi. Bhavan Asti. Bhavan Param Brahma Asti. Bhavan Param Dhama Asti. You are the supreme abode. Going where a Jivatma finds his ultimate peace. Pavitram, you are most sacred. Paramam, you are most supreme. Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adidevam Ajam Vibhum Vishayaha Ahuhu. These words are in the Tritya Vibhakti, therefore they must be the object of some verb. That verb is found in the second sloka. Ahuhu. Rishayaha, they call you Shashvata Purusha. If it were going with the previous line, Bhavan Asi, then Purushaha Shashvataha Asi. Bhavan or Bhavan, when Bhavan comes, it becomes Pratama Purusha or third person. So, Bhavan Shashvataha Purushaha Asti. Tvam Shashvataha Purushaha Asi. But Tvam Rishayaha Shashvatam Purusham Ahu. That's how the grammar goes. You call somebody in some way, then that somebody goes into so-called second case, Dvitiya Vibhakti. So let me therefore take those 2 words from the 13th shloka. Rishaya Tvam Shashvatam Purusham Ahu. Rishaya Tvam Divyam Ahu. Adidevam Ahu. Ajam Ahu. Vibhum Ahu. They call you, all pervades you, Vibhu. They call you unborn. So, what are these words? This is some kind of awakened understanding in Arjuna. Tvam Ahuhu Tvam Rishaya. Ahuhu is Vadanti. Ahuhu is Kathayanti. They tell, they say, they address you, or they look at you in this way. You are divine. You are the foremost of all gods. Adideva. Even, to use a specific name, Devarshihi, Narada. Narada was not a Maharshi or Brahmarshi, etc. He was typically called Devarshi. He was a born Devata. He was not born to some human beings on the earth. Therefore, he is called Devarshi. Devaha Asau Rishihi cha. So Devarshi. And then Asitaha, another great saint, Rishi, Devalaha, one other seer, and Vyasaha, Vyasa also. Arjuna says this. Vyasa is recording all this. Vyasa then wrote the Gita also, entire Mahabharata. What so what? What Vyasa is hearing, Vyasa is seeing directly. Arjuna saying, Arjuna mentioning his name, Vyasa's name. Swayam chaiva bravishime. So all rishis say this, and you yourself are saying it. Therefore, there is no room for doubt. I must not look back anymore. I must not entertain the least dissimilar thought. Simple two verses. Bhashyakara says, Param Brahma, Paramatma, Param Dhama, Param Tejaha, Pavitram Pavanam, Paramam Prakishtam Bhavan. You are all this. Param, Param, Param means supreme, unsurpassed. Purusham, Shashvatam, Nityam. Divyam means Divi Bhavam. Divyam is Divi Bhavam. Divi literally is taken as heaven. So you are always in heaven. But in philosophy, to be in heaven means to be on a very high plane of consciousness. More we are thinking about money, pleasures, position, who praised us, who insulted us, and all those, then we are on a lower plane of consciousness. To know somebody insulted us is all right, but to get stuck there, to get up at 2 a.m. and wonder, why did he have to speak those uncharitable words to me? This is very unfair. At 2 a.m., instead of getting up and saying, Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, you are. So, Divyam, Divi Bhavi, Divi Bhavam. So, you are always in the higher consciousness. Sarva Devanam Adav Bhavam Adi Devam. Of all gods, we said foremost, coming first. Ajam Vibhum Vibhavana Sheelam. Unborn, Vibhu is Vibhavana Vividha Rupena Bhavanam. That is how Vibhu is generally explained. We can stand for many meanings. V means Visheshena, V means Vichitrena, V means Vividham. But generally, Vibhu means someone who appears in varieties of forms. As Bhagavan himself has said, I am this, I am that, I am father, I am mother, I am the grandfather too. All that. And then, Idrisham Ahuhu Kathayanti Tvam Rishaya Vasishtadaya Sarve. A whole lot of sages who are preeminent, whose words cannot be taken lightly at all, no way. And then Devarshihi Naradastata Asitaha Devalaha Pi Evameva Sarve Evameva Vadanti. All of them speak in one voice, Vyasascha. And then Swayam Chaiva. Arjuna says to Sri Krishna, Lord, you too are talking this way. And therefore what? We read this next shloka. Sarvametad ritam manye yat mam vadasi keshava nahi te bhagavan yaktim vidurdevana danavah. Manye, aham manye. I think, I regard, I consider sarvametad, all this ritam as truth. I have no business to doubt these statements. Devala, Asita, Devarshi, a whole lot of other rishis, Bhagavan, Veda Vyasa himself, all of them say, Krishnastu Paramatma Swayam, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, and so on. Then who am I to have the least doubt about it? सर्वमेतदृतं मन्ये सत्यं मन्ये सर्वमेतत् सत्यं चिन्तयामि यत् माम यन्माम वदसि केशव. O Keshava, O Lord Shri Krishna, whatever you say to me, I regard it all as true. Nahi te Bhagavan Vyaktim Viduhu Devaha na Dhanavaha. Neither gods in the heavens nor the demons anywhere else in the universe understand who you are. Te Vyaktim, your expressions, your being, your personality, what you are, no one knows. A short commentary by Bhashyakara. Sarvametad yatoktam rishivihi tvaya chetat dhrutam satyameva manye. Dhrutam is no other than true, satyam. Yat mam prati vadase. Now you are saying to me, addressing me, mam prati, bhashase, he Keshava. Nahi te bhagava bhagavan vyaktim prabhavam. Vyakti, I said expressions, prabhava is rising in some form. Prabhava is rising, coming into being. Pralaya, he is vanishing. So you rise, you appear in countless ways, and even gods and demons fail to understand your glory. Yatahatvam devadinam adihi. Because you are much before them. So how do they know you? Generally, you and I know things happening around us. Something happened much before we even were born. Well, we read somewhere, and lot of history is manipulated. Lot of history is selectively edited, curated. Those who write history downplay certain portions and highlight certain other portions, and irresponsible statements are made knowingly or unknowingly. So, in general, our knowledge is relatively accurate about things happening around us at our time. And God came into being, but there was no coming into being, He ever was, way before these gods or demons ever raised their heads. In this sense, Arjuna is 100% right. No one knows your glory, Lord. I am so blessed to hear about it from you this morning. Thus, it's opening up, and in the next class, we shall see how Arjuna finally requests Sri Krishna to tell him about all his glories. Please tell me in detail your vibhutis. And in response, the very first verse, after I just introductory line, 20th verse in the chapter practically is the first verse. And can you believe that verse which we will see in the next class, 10th chapter, 20th verse, is the one verse that Sri Ramana Maharshi said, if I were to select one out of 700, this is the one. 20th verse, where the supremacy of the pure, uncontaminated I is held high. We'll see that too in the next class. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hari Om.